I don't think it is a reasonable plan. It's been ill thought through. It's going to be very, very expensive. You're looking at £120 million over 5 years, which is purely for development costs. That is not ongoing costs of processing. So the Rwandan government at the moment can only take roughly and accommodate 100 people. So that doesn't really make a dent in the sort of over 28,000 that arrived in the past 12 months. So they will come to us for more money. How much money, we don't know. And it's got to stop somewhere. So until this is all worked out, I don't think this should have been launched.
Yeah, but do you not think that might send a message to people that if you do come here, you are at risk, even if you are only one of 100 people or whatever, you are at risk of going to Rwanda, and that may help to stop the model that the traffickers are using to perpetuate this cycle?
No, I don't. I think if people are desperate, they will try to come to the United Kingdom. The traffickers won't care either way. They will take their money. They don't care what happens to the person once they have left their shores in France, for example. So it's not going to stop that. People want to come here. Quite a lot of people will have family here. They want to come and join them. It isn't going to put them off. They want to come somewhere safe. So I think that we needed to have looked at the asylum system a lot more cleverer than we've done, rather than just make this someone else's problem.
Risk of you being the one that ends up in Rwanda, having come from Rwanda, isn't really, I mean, do you not think that there's some level of deterrent? Because after all, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to deter people from taking the crossing.
And I agree with that. We do need to deter people from making that crossing. It is incredibly dangerous, and we don't want to see any more lives being lost. But I think that, just the thought of perhaps ending up on a plane, there's no definite meaning that they will end up on a plane. So it's not really a deterrent at all. We don't know when it's going to start. The Prime Minister said hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Well, how long is that really? And is this going to be up and running? So I don't think it's going to deter those people. But what about the people already stuck in the asylum system going nowhere? We have to sort this out as a round and not just look at dumping the problem elsewhere.
What are the other options then for people? If you can't come via the dinghy, obviously that's not a good idea, or the lorries, as they've been doing, what are the other real legitimate options that you can use to come here?
Well, I think this is also half the problem, because there are no safe and legal routes set up for those wishing to claim asylum. There are schemes for those who are refugees and have that status, and there are schemes for refugee families, which are very, very different. But if you want to claim asylum, there is nothing set up. Now, the United Kingdom has been great at setting up bespoke schemes like the Syrian Vulnerable Persons Resettlement Scheme and Ukrainian scheme that we've just seen recently, and also for Afghanistan. But other than that, there is nothing. We need to be able to look a bit further afield now and change the way we ask for people to apply for asylum, and perhaps have that from outside the United Kingdom, which we don't normally do.
What's the difference then? So seeking asylum, why is it different from being a refugee? What is the difference between someone seeking asylum and someone who's a refugee?
Well, you can be seeking asylum for varying different reasons. These could be political prisoners. These could be LGBT people who are in threat of their own lives. So there are many other reasons. A refugee normally is from a war-torn country where they are literally bombed out of their own country. So they're very, very different things. And the classification is quite a legal matter. Most refugees will end up in camps set across the world, which they are processed there. So why can't we have a look perhaps at putting these sort of asylum reception centres in other parts of the countries, across Europe, for example? So not necessarily wanting to come to the UK. You might find that people wish to then go to France, to Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, you name it. There could be other countries open to them that they haven't perhaps realised.
But isn't that called an embassy? I mean, you'd think that there's embassies all over the world. Why can't people, if they want to seek asylum, go to an embassy and then apply there? I mean, that seems pretty basic. We've already got the infrastructure. I'm wondering why nobody seems to have come up with that. It seems pretty obvious. Does that
well,
not
it
seem
does,
like a
and it would
logical
do. it would be a very, very good use of them. I just wonder perhaps if there is the will from someone like the Foreign Office to have that. It would make perfect sense. You would have everything in one place. So I suspect that it wouldn't be popular for many reasons, but I actually think that's a very good idea. And perhaps you should put that forward to the Foreign Secretary and the Home Secretary.
Might have a chat with Richard Harrington, although he doesn't appear to know what the left is doing, because the right and the left, because apparently they're down the hallway, and he didn't seem to think that it was happening. Well, listen, thank you so much, Claire. It's really good to talk to you. I might just put it to them. That's Claire Pearsall. She's the Conservative councillor and former special advisor. Right, let's go on to David Goodhart, the head of Policy Exchange, Demography, I can't even say that now, Demography, Immigration and Integration Unit. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? I mean, you know. Right, so David, really pleased that you...
Demography unit is fine.
Thank you very much. Even that I was struggling with. David, well, listen, were you pleased then when you heard that the Prime Minister has got this new plan?
No, I wasn't pleased exactly. It is obviously rather a bizarre option in some ways. You know, Rwanda is a country that had the most violent civil war less than 30 years ago. There are doubts about its civil rights record now, its human rights record now. It's a long way away. It's in the middle of Africa. On the other hand, no democratic government can allow such a visible dismissal of its borders, of its immigration rules. 50 or 60,000 people are going to come across the channel this year unless we do something about it. It's an incredibly vivid image that'll be on our TV screens, most evenings, and it undermines faith in the immigration system. It undermines faith in democracy. I mean, it's a great driver of populist party support. Seeing people coming in and just flouting the rules. So a democratic government has to do something about it. It needs some kind of game changer. We've been talking about offshore processing. Offshore processing is now pretty well established. That it happened in Australia. There was pushback against the boats in Australia, and the boats stopped coming. The EU-Turkey deal was also essentially pushing back against the boats and allowing for some offshore processing. So it's not a completely new innovation. So we've got to do something. I mean, whether Rwanda is the right place is a big question, but I think the government was in a position of having to take some kind of action.